Russia is currently in the process of capturing Avdiivka, which would be in a long line of victories for Russia since 2023. I thought this would be a good time to recap on some of the, let's say, mysterious aspects of this special military operation between Russia and Ukraine. As has been the trend on my channel, I've often found the reporting on this war, particularly from the Western liberal media, to be abysmally poor, and there has been a lack of reporting to explain how a country like Ukraine can go from being on the brink of victory in 2022 to, as the Telegraph put it in an article, facing a devastating defeat by the end of summer 2023, just 1 year later. So to me, it started all around the end of 2022, when the Ukrainian fall offensives ended with a retreat from Russia from the west bank of the Kherson River across the Dnieper River to the east bank in the Kherson region. So perhaps that's a good place to start my analysis, because that is when the tide of the war, at least in the eyes of the Western public, really started to turn in Russia's favor.
И прилегающие населенные пункты не могут полноценно снабжаться и функционировать.
And you can find support in that statement when you ask yourselves this question: how many victories has Ukraine had since the end of 2022?
No.
The answer is 0, not 1. How many victories has the Russian army had? Well, let's see. We have Soledar. We have Bakhmut.
20 мая 23-го.
We have defeating the NATO-trained summer counteroffensive. And finally, Ukraine's retreat from Marinka to finish off 2023.
Тому Мар'їнка, яка трималася майже 2
All victories. Undoubtedly, 2023 was a year of Russian victory, and maybe, just maybe, that's why the Wall Street Journal listed Putin along with Elon Musk as winners of 2023. On Friday, the 11th of November of 2022, Russia's military announced the withdrawal of its troops across the Dnieper to the east bank, that it was completed.
В этом направлении сегодня в 5 часов утра по московскому времени завершена переброска подразделений российских войск на левый берег реки Днепр.
Now, what is mind-blowing to me is the fact that only just 2 days before, that is, on the Wednesday, the 9th of November, Sergei Shoigu, the Russian defense minister, announced the supposed beginning of the withdrawal of Russian troops from the West Bank.
Приступайте к отводу войск и примите все меры, чтобы обеспечить безопасную переброску личного состава.
Why is this mind-blowing, you might ask? Because even US generals estimated, along with their Ukrainian counterparts, that Russia had as much as 30,000 servicemen or troops on the west bank of Kherson, along with thousands of pieces of heavy military equipment. This led most Western officials to expect this withdrawal to take weeks. And this is even admitted in the West. The main reason for the withdrawal of the Russian troops was not because the Russian army had been defeated or routed by the Ukrainian army.
But it wasn't quite the military victory that everybody thought it was going to be, that the Russian forces were totally destroyed. They weren't destroyed, they just moved.
In fact, much to the contrary, Washington Post had put out an article in September of 2022 when the Kherson counteroffensive began, and it reported, based on Ukrainian soldiers, that the Russians were killing Ukrainians at a rate of 5 to 1 on the West Bank before they retreated. In fact, there are those who consider the Russia to be the victor of the Kherson West Bank battle because they destroyed the Ukrainian army and then retreated from territory that wasn't that strategic.
One strategic victory on the Russian side, one strategic victory on the Ukrainian side. The Russians decided to move south of that Dnieper River. That's a strategic victory. That's a land you don't need to hold.
A strategic victory for who? For Ukraine?
For the Russians.
But let's not get sidetracked. My point is this: the reason for the withdrawal was, and I quote here, because of the difficulty in supplying troops over the river. Al Jazeera reported that Ukraine began targeting the bridges over the Dnipro to the West Bank, which served as Russia's main supply lines via barge and ferry. But it is now undisputed that this was not a military defeat for Russia. Their army was never destroyed.
Retreating from Kherson
Yes.
is a victory
so let me,
for Russia.
I'm going to tell you a different example. So it's a victory, strategic victory for the Russians because it could have been a strategical failure by being surrounded and captured on the wrong side of the river. You have to think about it in a way, they could have lost a lot of men or they could have lost a lot of land. Now, that city right now is basically uninhabitable. Why? Because it sits right in the center of artillery and air superiority that's on the Russian side. That's a strategic victory. Not losing men and later using them is a victory militarily.
But all of that is just merely context for my real point. The real mystery to me is how was Russia able to conduct such a massive withdrawal under supposed fire, moving some 30,000 men and perhaps 5,000 pieces of military equipment over a damaged bridge in just 2 days.
The Defense Ministry states it's being done to avoid potential unnecessary losses among Russian forces amid the danger that Ukrainian forces could destroy a critical local dam and the devastation that would lead to.
And to do it largely unhindered.